sat in his home office, studying the quarterly reports from his cybersecurity company. The digital screens surrounding him displayed real-time threat assessments from clients across the globe. At 42, he built an empire that protected the digital assets of Fortune 500 companies, but he couldn't shake the memory of watching his father lose their family home at a poker table. "Mr. Evans," his assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. "Marcus Klein is here for your meeting. Send him in, Rachel." Grant minimized the financial reports and straightened his titanium watch, a reminder of his first successful contract. Marcus strode in, his usual confidence tempered by obvious concern. "Grant, we need to talk about the Hawkins situation. Fernando making another move?" Grant's jaw tightened. He gestured for Marcus to take a seat in one of the leather chairs facing his desk. "His team approached 3 of our board members last week, offering sweet deals for their shares." Marcus loosened his tie. "There's more. My security team intercepted some interesting communications. They're not just after the company. They're digging into your personal life." Grant's expression hardened. "Christina's gallery?" "Among other things. They've been asking questions about the provenance of several pieces she acquired recently." A knock interrupted them. Christina stood in the doorway, wearing an elegant black dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. "Sorry to interrupt, darling. I didn't realize you had company." Her smile was polished, practiced, the same one she used at gallery openings. "Marcus was just leaving," Grant said, standing. "Dinner tonight?" "Actually, I have to meet with a new artist. Drew Marshall. He's bringing some extraordinary pieces from Europe." Christina's perfectly manicured fingers played with her pearl necklace. "Don't wait up." After she left, Marcus leaned forward. "Grant, about Drew Marshall. Our background check came back with some red flags." "Show me." Marcus pulled out his tablet, bringing up a series of documents. "He appears in connection with 3 galleries in the past 5 years. Each one suffered major losses shortly after his involvement. But here's the interesting part. The paper trail always leads to dead ends." Grant studied the information, his mind already calculating possibilities. "Give me everything you can on him. And Marcus? Keep this between us." Later that evening, Grant received a call from Lloyd Dolan, his head of security. "Sir, you asked me to monitor unusual activities at the gallery. We've detected multiple unauthorized access attempts to the gallery's inventory database. Source: IP addresses trace back to various locations in Europe. Very sophisticated routing." Grant opened his private safe, removing a black notebook, one of the few things he kept in analog form. "Lloyd, implement Protocol 7. I want eyes on Christina and Marshall 24/7. No one sees the surveillance feeds except you and me." "Yes, sir. There's something else." Lloyd paused. The gallery's head curator, Lucia Hammond, has been asking questions about recent acquisitions. She's scheduled a meeting with insurance investigator Walter McCabe tomorrow. Keep me informed." Grant ended the call and pulled up the gallery's financial records on his secure terminal. The numbers looked perfect, too perfect. He remembered his father's desperate attempts to hide his gambling debts, using the same kind of meticulous documentation to mask the truth. At midnight, Grant received another call, this time from Garrett Cotton, the gallery's insurance agent. "Mr. Evans, I apologize for the late hour." "What is it, Cotton?" "About those authentication certificates for the new Renaissance pieces. I've found some inconsistencies." Grant's voice remained calm, but his fingers tightened on the phone. "How much to make those inconsistencies disappear?" "Sir, name your price, Cotton. But understand this. If you're playing both sides, I'll bury you so deep your grandchildren will need permits to visit your grave." The line went silent for a moment. $2 million. Offshore account. You'll have it by morning. Now tell me everything you know about Drew Marshall." As Cotton spilled details about Marshall's connection to international art forgers, Grant recorded every word. His father's addiction had taught him the value of leverage and the importance of striking first. The next day, Grant called a meeting with his most trusted ally, Felix Briggs, his company's chief of cybersecurity. "I need you to assemble a team. Top hackers, but keep it off the books." Felix adjusted his glasses. "This about the gallery situation?" "Christina's been meeting someone in the basement. I want to know every detail about those meetings. Sir, if I may. I've noticed unusual patterns in Mrs. Evans' communication. Multiple encrypted channels, burner phones. Grant's expression remained neutral, but his eyes blazed with cold fury. How long? At least 6 months. The protocols match those used by known art fraud networks. Find me proof. And Felix? Remember what happened to the last person who betrayed my trust? Felix nodded, remembering the former CFO who tried to sell company secrets. The man hadn't just lost his job, he'd lost everything, including his reputation and freedom. As Grant left the office that evening, he received a text from Christina. Working late again. Don't forget the charity gala tomorrow. He typed back a simple, okay, while watching the live feed from the gallery's security cameras on his phone. Christina wasn't working. She was meeting with Drew Marshall in her private office, their heads close together over documents spread across her desk. Grant switched to another camera feed, focusing on the gallery's storage area. A team of professionals was carefully wrapping paintings for transport, pieces that weren't listed in any official inventory. His phone buzzed again. This time a secure message from Walter McCabe. Found something big. Need to meet SAP. Grant directed his driver to change course. 20 minutes later, he sat across from McCabe in a private room at their old club. Remember that forgery case in Chicago last year? McCabe spread photographs across the table. Same MO, gallery owner falls for a charming art consultant. Valuable pieces start disappearing, replaced by forgeries. By the time anyone notices, the real art and the conspirators are gone. And Drew Marshall? He's a ghost. Changes names, appearance. But his pattern stays the same. He's hit galleries in 3 countries, always working with an inside partner. Grant studied the photos, his expression unreadable. The head curator at Christina's gallery, Lucia Hammond. How close was she to exposing them? McCabe's face darkened. Too close. Found dead in her apartment last week. Suicide, according to the police. I need copies of everything you have. And Walter? Be careful. These people play for keeps. Back home, Grant accessed his private server, reviewing data from the past 6 months. Christina's trips to Europe, her late nights at the gallery, the new pieces that appeared and disappeared from inventory, all of it forming a pattern he should have seen sooner. His phone buzzed with an alert from Lloyd. Christina and Drew were leaving the gallery together, heading toward the marina. Grant opened his safe again, this time removing a small black device. One press of a button would freeze all gallery accounts and trigger an automatic audit. But not yet. He needed more than suspicion. He needed absolute proof of their betrayal. Rachel, he spoke into his intercom. Cancel my meetings for the next week, and get me Lloyd Dolan. As he waited for Lloyd, Grant remembered his father's final days, broken and begging for one more chance. He'd sworn then never to show mercy to those who betrayed his trust. Christina was about to learn exactly what that meant. The chapter ends with Grant initiating his strategic response to the betrayal, setting up the events that will unfold in the next chapter. His character has been established as ruthless and calculating, driven by his past experiences and determined to maintain control over his empire. Chapter 2. The Betrayal. The morning sun illuminated Grant's office as he reviewed security footage from the gallery's basement. His chest felt tight, a sensation he initially dismissed as stress from the Hawkins takeover situation. The footage showed Christina and Drew examining what appeared to be painting frames, their conversation animated but inaudible. Sir? Lloyd Dolan entered the office, his expression grim. We've identified the forgers from the basement meetings. Known associates of Agnes Lake. She's been linked to major art fraud cases in Europe. Grant reached for his water glass, the pressure in his chest intensifying. Show me. Lloyd placed a file on the desk. The timing matches Christina's business trips to the Mediterranean. She wasn't meeting collectors. She was coordinating with Lake's organization. The pain surged sharply. Grant loosened his tie, but the discomfort grew worse. Get me Walter McCabe's latest report on. His words cut off as he clutched his chest, knocking over the water glass. Mr. Evans. Lloyd rushed forward, already dialing emergency services. We need an ambulance at Evans Tower, top floor. Possible heart attack. The next hours passed in a blur of medical procedures and beeping monitors. Grant, now lying in a private hospital room, listened as his doctor explained the severity of the cardiac event. But his mind was already calculating, analyzing how to turn this apparent weakness into an advantage. A nurse entered, Dora Galvin, according to her ID badge. She checked his vitals with professional efficiency. Mr. Evans, your wife has been trying to reach you. Hospital policy requires. No visitors, Grant interrupted, his voice hoarse but firm. Except those on the approved list from my security team. Of course. Dora hesitated. I should mention, my brother worked at the Chelsea Gallery in Miami. When it was hit by art thieves 2 years ago, Grant's eyes sharpened with interest. Drew Marshall? Dora nodded. Different name then, but same method. My brother tried to warn the owner. Next thing we knew, he was facing fraud charges himself. Lost everything. Give me your brother's contact information. And Dora? I may have some questions about that case later. After she left, Grant received a secure call from Felix Briggs. Sir, we've found something in Christina's encrypted communications. You need to see this. Send it to my secure tablet. Grant opened the files Felix transmitted, revealing months of correspondence between Christina and various black market art dealers. The timestamps proved she'd been planning the scheme long before Drew Marshall appeared. His phone buzzed with a text from Christina. Darling, they won't let me in to see you. I'm worried sick. Please call me. Grant allowed himself a cold smile as he composed his response. Getting rest? Doctor's orders. Focus on the gallery. Lloyd entered the room, closing the door quietly. Sir, we've confirmed Lucia Hammond's death wasn't suicide. Security cameras caught Drew Marshall entering her building the night she died. But there's more. Hammond left a detailed record of her suspicions. She'd been documenting everything. Where's the record now? Safe deposit box. Our team retrieved it an hour ago. Lloyd handed over a thick envelope. She was thorough, sir. Dates, times, photographs of the forgeries being moved in and out. She even managed to trace some of the bank transfers to offshore accounts. Grant studied the documents, his analytical mind already forming connections. What about Christina's Mediterranean trip? We've tracked her and Marshall to a villa in Greece. They met with Agnes Lake and her team of forgers. Our surveillance caught them discussing the next phase. Something about moving the real artwork through diplomatic channels. A knock at the door interrupted them. Samuel Vincent, Grant's longtime legal advisor, entered with a grim expression. Grant, we've uncovered the shell companies. Drew Marshall's operation is bigger than we thought. At least 50 million in stolen artwork, possibly more. Christina's involvement? Deep. She's been preparing for this for months, maybe years. The gallery's books were carefully manipulated to hide the true value of certain pieces. When the forgeries are discovered, the insurance payout would be based on the lower declared values. Grant's expression hardened. Start the process. I want every legal weapon we have ready to deploy. Already done. But Grant, there's something else. Christina's been meeting with your board members, spreading rumors about your health, suggesting you're no longer fit to lead the company. Perfect. Grant's smile held no warmth. She's playing right into our hands. Have Jenny Goodman monitor all board communications. I want to know every move they make. Later that evening, Walter McCabe slipped into the hospital room. Got your message. You were right about the previous cases. Each gallery owner was carefully chosen, wealthy, successful, with something to hide. Makes them less likely to cooperate with authorities when the scheme is discovered. What did they have on Christina? McCabe pulled out his phone, showing Grant a series of documents. Her family's banking collapse in 2008 wasn't just bad luck. She was involved in some questionable transactions. Nothing that could be proven, but enough to destroy her reputation if it came out. And now she's trying to destroy mine. Grant's voice was cold. How many others has Drew Marshall ruined? We've confirmed 3 galleries in Europe, 2 in Asia. Always the same pattern. Seduce the owner, replace valuable pieces with forgeries, then vanish with the originals. The insurance companies pay out on the declared values, never knowing they've been scammed twice. Once on the artwork's true value, and again on the forger's copy. Grant pressed a button, summoning Dora. I need to make some calls. Private ones. After the nurse secured his room, Grant contacted Felix. Implementation time. Release protocol echo. Sir, that will freeze all gallery assets. Not yet. Just make sure everything's in place. When Christina returns, I want her to feel completely secure before we strike. The next day, Samuel Vincent returned with more evidence. We've traced the money, Grant. Christina didn't just fall into this scheme. She sought out Drew Marshall. Their first contact was at a private auction in Paris, months before he appeared at her gallery. The timing coincides with Fernando Hawkins' first attempt to take over your company. This isn't just about art fraud. They're trying to destabilize your entire empire. Grant nodded, his expression glacial. Contact our friends at the FBI, Art Crimes Division. I want everything ready when we move. As night fell, Grant watched the surveillance feed from his tablet. Christina and Drew were returning from their Mediterranean trip, looking relaxed and confident. They had no idea that every step they'd taken, every call they'd made, had been documented and analyzed. Lloyd entered with the latest security report. Sir, Christina's scheduled a board meeting for next week. The agenda includes a discussion of leadership transition due to health concerns. Let her make her move. Grant's voice was steady, determined. Every betrayal has its price. She's about to learn how high that price can be. The chapter concludes with Grant transforming his hospital stay from a vulnerability into a strategic advantage, gathering evidence and preparing his counterattack while his wife and her conspirators believe they're closing in on victory. Chapter 3. The Chess Master Awakens. Grant Evans observed his reflection in the hospital room's bathroom mirror, noting the changes wrought by his cardiac event. He'd lost weight, his designer suits hanging slightly loose on his frame. Perfect. Let them think him weakened, vulnerable. Dora Galvin entered with his morning medication. Your physical therapist will be here in an hour, Mr. Evans. And she lowered her voice. My brother sent those files you requested. Good. Have them delivered to Felix Briggs. Grant returned to his bed, where multiple tablets displayed surveillance feeds and financial data. Any visitors for Lucia Hammond before her death? 3. Dora checked that the door was closed. 2 gallery employees and a man matching Drew Marshall's description. The police report lists suicide, but the hospital records show defensive wounds on her hands. Grant's phone buzzed. A message from Jenny Goodman. Encrypted communications intercepted. C&D planning something big. Need to meet. Send in Lloyd first, Grant instructed Dora. Then clear my schedule for the afternoon. Lloyd Dolan arrived minutes later, carrying a secure laptop. Sir, we've identified Christina's contact in the customs office. He's been facilitating artwork transfers through diplomatic pouches. Price: $200,000 per shipment, paid through a series of shell companies. The paperwork looks legitimate. Gifts to various embassies. Grant nodded, already calculating his next move. Have Jenny trace those payments. I want every account, every transaction. There's more. Lloyd pulled up a document. Christina's been meeting with Charlotte Coffey, the gallery's major patron, showing her paperwork about new acquisitions, getting her to sign transfer documents. Let me guess. The paperwork shows significantly undervalued pieces. Grant's voice carried a dangerous edge. Give me those documents. Felix Briggs arrived next, his laptop displaying lines of encrypted data. We've cracked Christina's secondary email server. She's been corresponding with black market dealers for over 2 years. The gallery's legitimate pieces have been disappearing systematically, replaced with forgeries. Show me the timeline. Felix pulled up a detailed spreadsheet. It started small, testing the waters with minor pieces. But after meeting Drew Marshall, the operation expanded. They've been targeting the gallery's most valuable acquisitions. Grant's fingers moved across his tablet, accessing hidden accounts. What about the board members? Christina's been working them carefully, especially Margarita Padilla, showing her doctored medical reports suggesting your condition is worse than reported. A knock interrupted them. Jenny Goodman entered, her expression serious. Mr. Evans, we've found something in Christina's cloud storage. Old correspondence with Fernando Hawkins, dating back 18 months. Before Drew Marshall. Yes, sir. Hawkins made the introduction. He's been orchestrating this from the beginning, using Christina to weaken your position while he moves on the company. Grant's expression remained neutral, but his eyes gleamed with cold calculation. Time to accelerate our plans. Jenny, I need you to implement Protocol Omega. The nuclear option, sir? Jenny's fingers hovered over her keyboard. Not yet. Just the first phase. Let's see how our friends react when their secure communications suddenly aren't so secure. Later that afternoon, Caesar Lewis arrived, a former military operative now working as a private consultant. Your security chief briefed me, Mr. Evans. We need to discuss personal protection protocols. I have something else in mind. Grant gestured to the chair beside his bed. I need specialized training. When I leave this hospital, I want to be prepared for any physical confrontation. Caesar studied him thoughtfully. Given your recent cardiac event, we'll need to modify the standard protocols. But I can design a program that will give you the necessary skills without compromising your recovery. Start immediately. Use the private gym in the hospital's executive wing. As Caesar left, Samuel Vincent entered with a thick legal folder. The board meeting is scheduled for next week. Christina's gathered significant support for a leadership challenge. Perfect. Grant's smile was predatory. Have our own documentation ready. I want every board member to understand exactly what happens to those who betray me. The day continued with a parade of carefully vetted visitors. Each brought pieces of intelligence that Grant wove into his expanding web of counterstrikes. His hospital room had become a command center, with secure communications equipment and multiple layers of surveillance. Sir, Lloyd returned with evening reports. Christina's accessed the gallery's main vault. She's preparing for a major move, right on schedule. Grant pulled up the vault's inventory on his tablet. What about Charlotte Coffey? She signed the transfer documents this morning. Christina convinced her it was for a special exhibition. The poor woman had no idea she was signing away control of her entire collection. Grant's expression hardened. Make sure Ms. Coffey's lawyer receives copies of the real documentation. Anonymously, of course. As night fell, Grant reviewed the day's intelligence with his core team. Felix Briggs reported on the cyber surveillance. Jenny Goodman detailed the compromised communications, and Lloyd Dolan updated security protocols. One last thing, Grant addressed his assembled lieutenants. When Christina makes her move at the board meeting, she'll think she has everything perfectly planned. That's when we reveal what we know about Lucia Hammond's death. Sir, Lloyd hesitated. The police investigation has been reopened. Grant's voice was cold. Anonymous tip about security footage showing Drew Marshall entering her building. By the time Christina realizes her perfect plan is collapsing, it'll be too late. The team dispersed, each member clear on their role in the coming battle. Grant turned to the window, watching the city lights below. His father had taught him an unintended lesson. In games of power, hesitation meant death. Christina and her conspirators were about to learn just how thoroughly he'd mastered that lesson. Dora entered for the final check of the night. Your vitals are stronger, Mr. Evans. The doctors are impressed with your recovery. Thank you, Dora. And your brother's situation? The lawyers you recommended are optimistic. They think they can prove he was framed. Grant nodded. Good. We'll need his testimony when the time comes. After she left, Grant received one final message from Felix. Surveillance confirms Christina meeting with Hawkins. Operation is larger than we thought. Multiple galleries involved. Proceed as planned, Grant replied. And Felix? Make sure our friends at the FBI's Art Crimes Division get their anonymous tip about international art trafficking. Timing is everything. The first act closes with Grant's transformation from apparent victim to hidden mastermind complete. His carefully constructed counter-operation is in place, with Christina and her conspirators unaware that their every move has been anticipated and documented. The stage is set for the coming confrontation, with Grant holding evidence of art fraud, murder, and corporate espionage, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Chapter 4. Countermoves. Grant sat in his newly fortified office, watching multiple screens as Christina and Drew executed their media offensive. Local news channels blazed with headlines about his unstable leadership and questionable business practices. They're pushing the mental health angle hard, Marcus Klein noted, standing beside Grant's desk. 3 different outlets running stories about your supposed paranoid behavior. Grant's lips curved into a cold smile as he pressed a button on his desk. Sherry Lawson, please. The investigative reporter's voice filled the room through the speakers. Mr. Evans, I received your package. These documents about Lucia Hammond's death. They're explosive, all verified and authenticated, Grant replied. I believe you'll find the security footage particularly interesting. The timestamp shows Drew Marshall entering her building at 11:42 p.m., but the police report lists time of death at 10:30. Sherry's voice crackled with intensity. And the bruising patterns in the autopsy photos. Run it, Grant commanded. Full coverage, all channels. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Christina won't expect you to move this fast. She's not the only one who can manipulate media. Grant turned to another screen showing his company's stock price. How's our board holding up? Most are staying loyal, but Marcus hesitated. But what? Brian O'Connor's been meeting with Christina. Private dinners, off-the-books conversations. Grant's expression remained neutral, but his eyes hardened. Show me the surveillance. The footage revealed Brian and Christina in an upscale restaurant, heads close together over papers spread between them. Their body language spoke of conspiracy and shared secrets. Sir, Lloyd Dolan entered with a tablet. We've intercepted O'Connor's communications. He's promised Christina access to our new security protocols in exchange for a position in Drew's planned consulting firm. Perfect. Grant's voice carried a dangerous edge. Keep monitoring him. Let him think his betrayal goes unnoticed. Later that day, Felix Briggs arrived with more intelligence. O'Connor's downloading sensitive files, sending them through encrypted channels to Christina's team. What kind of files? Product specs, client lists, security vulnerabilities. Felix adjusted his glasses. But here's the interesting part. They're all from the decoy server we set up. Grant nodded approvingly. Plant some particularly juicy bait. Make it look like we're developing a quantum encryption breakthrough. Something too tempting for Hawkins to ignore. The strategy proved effective. Within hours, Christina's team began focusing their corporate espionage efforts on the false lead, while Grant's real operations continued undetected. Sir, Jenny Goodman's voice came through the intercom. We've tracked the media leaks. They're using a PR firm connected to Hawkins. Same one that handled the smear campaign against his last takeover target. Send everything to Sherry Lawson. Grant turned to Lloyd. How's our friend Brian holding up? Nervous. He's made 3 calls to his offshore accounts today. Time to apply some pressure. Grant picked up his phone. Get me Walter McCabe. The insurance investigator arrived within the hour, carrying a thick folder. You were right about the pattern. Drew's previous operations all involved compromised executives. They're usually the first ones to crack under pressure. Have the FBI pay Brian a friendly visit, Grant instructed. Just routine questions about Lucia Hammond's case. Let's see how he handles the attention. The next morning, Brooke Good requested an urgent meeting. The young executive's face showed signs of strain as she entered Grant's office. It's about my brother, she began, twisting her hands. Drew Marshall approached him too, offered him a position, money, everything, and he refused, but tears welled in her eyes. Our mother, Eleanor, she's been hiding something. Something about our family's connection to Christina's banking scandal. Grant leaned forward. Tell me everything. The revelation of long-buried family secrets provided another weapon in Grant's arsenal. Eleanor Good's testimony would prove crucial in establishing Christina's pattern of financial manipulation. As evening approached, Grant received confirmation that his counterattack was working. Christina's media offensive had backfired spectacularly, with Sherry Lawson's exposé dominating the news cycle. The tide's turning, Marcus observed, watching the coverage. Public opinion's shifting in your favor. Opinion is irrelevant, Grant replied coldly. I want destruction. Complete and absolute. Brian O'Connor's anxiety peaked when the FBI agents appeared at his office. Their questions about Lucia Hammond sent him into a panic, leading to a rushed call to Christina. He's cracking, Lloyd reported, monitoring the conversation, threatening to expose everything unless they get him out of the country tonight. Grant's smile was predatory. Have Jenny track his movements. When he runs, we'll be ready. The day ended with Grant reviewing the damage to Christina's carefully constructed plans. Her media attack had transformed into a liability. Brian O'Connor was unraveling, and the FBI's interest in Lucia Hammond's death threatened to expose their entire operation. Sir, Lloyd interrupted his thoughts. Christina's requesting a meeting. Says she wants to negotiate. No response necessary. Grant turned back to his screens. She'll learn soon enough. I don't negotiate with traitors. Chapter 5. Escalation. The attack came at midnight. 3 men in black tactical gear breached Grant's estate perimeter, their movements suggesting professional training. Security cameras tracked their progress as they disabled the outer alarm systems. Permission to engage? Lloyd's voice crackled through the secure command center beneath the house. Not yet. Grant watched the intruders search his home office. Let's see what they're after. The men focused on Grant's private safe, their expert hands making quick work of the security system. What they didn't know was that each document they touched had been treated with a specialized tracking compound developed by Jenny Goodman's team. Sir, Felix's voice joined the communications. We're picking up their communications. They're looking for something specific, files about the gallery's original artwork acquisitions. Grant's expression remained impassive as he watched them photograph documents and download data from his computer. Jenny? Tracking signatures confirmed, she reported. Each document they've touched is now tagged and traceable. Plus, they've just downloaded our specially prepared data package. The intruders finished their work and retreated, believing their mission successful. As soon as they cleared the property, Grant activated his response protocols. Execute containment, he ordered. I want to know everywhere those documents go, everyone who touches them. The next morning, Margarita Padilla arrived at Grant's office, her usual confidence shaken. They have photos, Grant. From Madrid. With the ambassador's wife. I know. Grant's voice was calm. Christina thinks she can use this to force your vote at the board meeting. I can't let those pictures become public. My family will never see them. Grant pressed a button, bringing up a document on his screen. Because you're going to do exactly what they don't expect. You're going to tell the board everything yourself. Margarita stared at him. What? Complete disclosure. On your terms. Before the meeting, Grant's eyes locked with hers. Trust me, Margarita. By the time Christina tries to use those photos, they'll be worthless. As Margarita left, Jenny Goodman entered with new intelligence. We've tracked the compound signatures. The documents from last night's break-in were taken to a private office downtown. Registered to Tammy Chase. Chase? Lloyd frowned. The woman who's been giving interviews about your supposed harassment? Pull everything on her, Grant commanded. Every detail, every connection. Felix's investigation revealed Tammy's true identity within hours. She's worked with Drew before. Same role, creating scandal and distraction while they prepare their real move. Sir, Lloyd interrupted. Christina's making her play for the board. She's called an emergency meeting for tomorrow morning. Grant's smile was cold. Right on schedule. Time to destroy Ms. Chase's credibility. The evidence against Tammy was devastating. Felix uncovered her involvement in 2 previous schemes, complete with documentation of payments and communications with Drew's organization. Release it, Grant ordered. All of it. Let's see how convincing her tears are when the world knows she's a professional con artist. Christina's reaction was swift. She appeared on a morning news show, defending Tammy and attacking Grant's character. But her performance faltered when Sherry Lawson called in with questions about Tammy's previous identities. The timing is perfect, Marcus observed, watching Christina's composure crack on live television. The board meets in less than 24 hours. Grant turned to Lloyd. Status on the gallery? Christina's moving pieces again. Our surveillance shows at least 3 more forgeries installed in the past week. Document everything. Grant's voice was hard. When we move, I want no possibility of denial. That afternoon, Margarita Padilla addressed the board in a closed session. Her confession about the Madrid incident was met with unexpected support, particularly after she revealed Christina's attempted blackmail. The board is solidifying behind you, Samuel Vincent reported. Christina's leverage is crumbling. Grant nodded, his attention on the surveillance feeds showing Christina and Drew in an agitated discussion at the gallery. They'll try something desperate now. Be ready. The desperation play came that evening. Drew's team attempted to access Grant's private servers, triggering Jenny's carefully laid traps. They took the bait, she announced, watching the intrusion attempts. Full digital fingerprints captured. Want me to trace it back? Follow it all the way up. Grant's expression was triumphant. Show me everyone involved in their little operation. The traces led to multiple locations, including Fernando Hawkins' private office. The connection was now irrefutable. Christina's betrayal was part of a larger conspiracy to destroy both Grant's company and his reputation. Sir, Lloyd's voice held a note of concern. Christina's accessing the gallery's main vault again. Moving more pieces. Let her. Grant watched the security footage. Each piece she takes is another nail in her coffin. As night fell, Grant reviewed the day's victories with his core team. Christina's support was crumbling, her conspirators were exposed, and her every move was being documented for eventual prosecution. Tomorrow's board meeting, he addressed his lieutenants. That's when we spring the trap. Everything we've built, everything we've uncovered. It all comes together then. The chapter ends with Grant's dismantling of his enemy's plans reaching its crescendo, setting the stage for the final confrontation of Act 2. Chapter 6. The Frame. The morning of the board meeting dawned with Grant already in his office, reviewing the final pieces of his counterattack. The latest intelligence showed Christina and Drew growing increasingly desperate as their plans unraveled. Sir, Felix entered with urgent news. We've identified their master forger, Herman John. He's been working from a studio in the gallery's basement. Show me. The surveillance footage revealed an elderly man with steady hands working on near-perfect reproductions of famous paintings. His technique was distinctive, matching forgeries found in previous galleries targeted by Drew's organization. The forgeries are masterful, Walter McCabe admitted, studying the images. But they all share certain characteristics, specific pigments, aging techniques. Once you know what to look for, they're like signed confessions. Grant's phone buzzed with a message from Jenny. Customs records obtained. Multiple shipments through diplomatic channels, all coordinated by Christina. Your wife's been busy, Marcus observed. The paperwork shows genuine artworks being moved out while forgeries come in. Perfect corporate camouflage. Until now. Grant turned to Lloyd. Status on April Schaefer? Christina's gallery assistant is ready to talk. She's documented years of suspicious activities. Artwork arriving without proper provenance, pieces disappearing from inventory. The evidence was damning. April had kept detailed records of Christina's systematic replacement of valuable pieces with forgeries, long before Drew Marshall's appearance. Sir, Jenny interrupted through the intercom. Drew's trying to run. We've detected multiple ticket purchases under his known aliases. Grant's expression hardened. Contact Blanca Wolf. Blanca's voice filled the room minutes later. I've been tracking his escape routes for years. After what he did to my gallery in Buenos Aires, I made it my mission to know his every move. Share everything you have with Lloyd. I want his exit blocked at source. As the board meeting approached, Grant received confirmation that all pieces were in place. Christina's attempt to seize control would become her ultimate undoing. The forger, Herman John, Felix reported. He's agreed to cooperate. Says Christina promised him protection, then tried to set him up as a scapegoat. Grant nodded. Record his statement. Add it to the evidence package. The gallery's security feeds showed increasing activity. Christina and Drew were moving artwork again, unaware that each piece was being documented by April Schaefer and the security team. They're panicking, Lloyd observed. Making mistakes. Good. Grant's voice was cold. Fear makes people careless. The final piece fell into place when Herman John provided access to his private records. Years of commissions, all traceable back to Drew's organization, revealing a pattern of international art fraud. The customs officials are compromised, Samuel Vincent reported. But we've found their weakness. Offshore accounts holding millions in bribes. Grant's smile was predatory. Freeze them. All of them. Let's see how loyal they stay when their money disappears. As board members began arriving for the meeting, Grant received word that Drew's escape attempt had been thwarted. Blanco Wolf's intelligence had proved accurate. Airports and private airfields were now closed to him. He's trapped, Lloyd confirmed, and running out of options. The evidence against Christina and Drew was overwhelming. Financial records, surveillance footage, witness statements, and Herman John's testimony created an irrefutable chain of proof. Sir, Jenny's voice held a note of triumph. We've cracked their entire communication network. Years of encrypted messages, all decoded. Grant stood, straightening his tie. Time to end this. Release everything to the FBI Art Crimes Division. All of it. The board meeting would be Christina's last stand, her final attempt to seize control of what she'd failed to destroy. But Grant had turned her own weapon against her, using her arrogance and desperation to engineer her complete destruction. Remember, he addressed his team. No mercy. No negotiations. This ends today. As Grant prepared to confront his wife and her conspirators, he reflected on the lessons learned from his father's gambling addiction. Trust, once broken, could never be repaired, and betrayal always carried the highest price. The chapter concludes with Grant's trap fully set, ready to spring in a devastating finale to Act 2. Christina and Drew's carefully constructed scheme was about to collapse, taking their freedom and futures with it. Chapter 7. The Trap Springs. Special Agent Jared Dunlap sat across from Grant in the FBI's Boston field office, spreading surveillance photos across the table. Your intel was the missing piece. We've been building this case for months. Show me what you have, Grant commanded, his posture radiating authority despite the federal setting. Drew Marshall's network spans 3 continents. Dunlap pulled up digital files on his tablet. Art theft, forgery, money laundering. But we could never prove the connection to organized crime until now. Jenny Goodman's voice came through Grant's secure earpiece. Sir, Christina and Drew are accessing their encrypted network, attempting to contact their European associates. Let them. Grant's voice carried cold satisfaction. Each attempt only adds to our evidence. At the gallery, Christina paced in her office, unaware of the FBI surveillance team positioned outside. Her phone call to Agnes Lake went through sophisticated routing protocols that Jenny's team had compromised weeks ago. Agnes, we need to move now, Christina hissed into her phone. Grant's planning something. The board meeting was a trap. You're paranoid, Agnes replied, her voice distorted by encryption. The plan is working. The forgeries are in place. The originals are secure. No, you don't understand. He knows. Somehow he knows everything. Drew burst into Christina's office, his usual smooth demeanor shattered. We've been compromised. The secure channels, the shipping manifests, all of it. In his command center, Grant watched their panic unfold across multiple screens. Status update, he demanded. FBI teams in position, Lloyd reported. Art Crimes Division has units at airports, ports, and known safe houses. Felix Briggs added. All their digital escape routes are blocked. Jenny's team has backdoor access to their entire communication network. At the gallery, art expert Glenda McDowell began her examination of the suspected forgeries. Her trained eye caught the subtle markers of Herman John's work, specific pigment combinations, unique aging techniques. These are masterful, she admitted, studying a false Rembrandt under specialized lighting. But they all share distinct characteristics. Once you know what to look for, it's like finding a signature. Christina watched from her office as Glenda moved through the gallery. Each painting she examined added another link in the chain of evidence. We need to run, Drew insisted, grabbing Christina's arm. Now before. The gallery's security system activated, magnetic locks engaging on all exits. Jenny's voice came through Grant's communication link. Containment protocols activated. They're trapped. Grant stood in his office, watching the operation unfold. Execute final phase. FBI teams breached the gallery from multiple entry points. Agent Dunlap led the main force, his voice carrying through the building. FBI. Nobody move. Drew attempted to delete files from his laptop, but Jenny's cyber team had already captured everything. Each keystroke only documented his guilt more thoroughly. Christina maintained her composure as agents approached, her aristocratic bearing intact. "This is a mistake. I can explain everything, Mrs. Evans," Agent Dunlap replied. "We have recordings of your meetings with known art forgers, video evidence of you discussing the fraud scheme, documented connections to international criminal organizations." Grant entered the gallery, his presence commanding attention. He moved through the chaos, ignoring Christina's attempts to catch his eye. "Mr. Evans," Glenda called out, "you need to see this." She pointed to subtle markings on a forged Monet. These techniques match forgeries found in galleries across Europe, all connected to Drew Marshall's operation. Christina's mask finally cracked. "Grant, please. You don't understand. I had no choice. My family's debts." "Save it for your lawyers," Grant cut her off, his voice arctic. "Though I doubt they'll be as interested in your excuses as the federal prosecutors." Drew made one last desperate move, attempting to run for a secondary exit. Lloyd's security team took him down with professional efficiency. "Sir," Jenny's voice came through Grant's earpiece, "we've traced their last communication attempts. 3 more conspirators identified." Grant nodded to Agent Dunlap. "You'll find their complete operation documented in the files we provided. Bank records, shipping manifests, communication logs. Everything you need for a conviction." Christina watched as agents began cataloging evidence. "You planned this? All of it? How long?" "Since the day you betrayed me," Grant replied, not bothering to look at her. "Did you really think I wouldn't notice? That I wouldn't strike back?" The gallery became a crime scene as FBI evidence teams documented each forged painting, each falsified document. Glenda McDowell's expertise proved invaluable in establishing the scope of the fraud. "The substitutions go back years," she reported, examining transaction records, "long before Drew Marshall arrived. This was a systematic operation." Grant's revenge was complete, but his expression showed no triumph, only cold, implacable purpose. He had dismantled their criminal enterprise piece by piece, using their own arrogance against them. As Christina and Drew were led away in handcuffs, Agent Dunlap approached Grant. "We'll need your testimony for the trial." "You'll have everything you need," Grant assured him. "They destroyed themselves with their own greed. I merely provided the opportunity." The chapter ends with Grant's trap fully sprung, his enemies caught in a web of their own making. The next phase would play out in court, where their crimes would be exposed to public scrutiny. Chapter 8. Justice Served. The federal courthouse buzzed with activity as the trial began. Sherry Lawson sat in the press gallery, her notebook ready to document each damning revelation. "The scope of this fraud is unprecedented," the prosecutor announced in his opening statement. "What we have here is not just art theft, but a sophisticated criminal enterprise that spans continents." Grant testified first, his commanding presence drawing the jury's attention. He detailed the discovery of Christina's betrayal, the systematic replacement of valuable artworks with forgeries, the complex money laundering operation. "And when did you first suspect your wife's involvement?" the prosecutor asked. "When I noticed discrepancies in the gallery's acquisition records," Grant replied, his voice steady. "The same patterns my father used to hide his gambling debts, too perfect, too clean." Christina's attorney attempted to paint her as an unwitting participant. "My client was manipulated by Mr. Marshall. She had no knowledge of the larger criminal enterprise." April Schaefer's testimony destroyed that defense. The gallery assistant produced recordings of meetings where Christina openly discussed the fraud scheme. Mrs. Evans personally supervised the substitution of forgeries, April testified, her voice firm. She maintained detailed records of which pieces were replaced, when they were moved, and where the originals were shipped. During a break in proceedings, Grant received an update from Jenny. "Sir, we've tracked the money through their offshore accounts. The connections to organized crime are irrefutable." Agnes Lake's arrest in Monaco added another dimension to the case. Extradited to face charges, she quickly realized the strength of the evidence against her. "I want a deal," she told federal prosecutors. "I can give you names, dates, locations, the whole network." Grant watched from the gallery as Agnes detailed her role in the operation. Her testimony revealed connections to crime families who used art fraud for money laundering. "The paintings were never the real target," Agnes explained. They were just a way to move money across borders. Clean it through legitimate galleries. Christina sat at the defense table, her perfect composure cracking as former associates turned against her. Each testimony added another layer to the prosecution's case. The defendant wasn't just aware of the fraud, the prosecutor argued. She was a key architect of the scheme. The evidence shows years of systematic criminal activity. Drew Marshall's attempt to claim ignorance collapsed under cross-examination. The prosecutor walked him through documented meetings, recorded conversations, bank transfers that proved his guilt. Mr. Marshall, the prosecutor pressed, can you explain these transfers from your accounts to known members of organized crime families? Drew's smooth facade crumbled. I want to revise my earlier statement. Christina made one final attempt to salvage her situation. Through her lawyers, she threatened to expose alleged financial misconduct in Grant's company. Samuel Vincent was ready. He presented the court with evidence of Christina's embezzlement from her family's trust funds, crimes that predated her marriage to Grant. These records show systematic theft, Samuel testified. Ms. Armstrong, as she was known then, diverted millions from accounts she was supposed to protect. The jury took less than 6 hours to reach a verdict. Guilty on all counts. As the judge prepared to announce sentences, Christina tried one last time to catch Grant's attention. He ignored her, his expression impassive as justice was served. The defendants have shown no remorse, the judge declared. Their crimes were not acts of desperation, but calculated schemes that destroyed lives and undermined the integrity of the art world. The sentences were severe. 20 years for Christina, 25 for Drew Marshall. Their criminal empire, built on lies and betrayal, lay in ruins. Outside the courthouse, Sherry Lawson cornered Grant for a statement. Any comment on the verdict? Justice was served, he replied simply. The evidence spoke for itself. The chapter ends with Grant's enemies facing the consequences of their actions, their elaborate schemes exposed and punished. But for Grant, this was not the end. Merely the completion of one phase in his calculated response to betrayal. Chapter 9. Phoenix Rising. Grant stood in the newly renovated gallery space, now headquarters of the Evans Foundation for Art Authentication. The building that had once housed Christina's betrayal had been transformed into a center for preventing art fraud. The blockchain system is revolutionary, Lydia Proctor explained to a group of museum curators. Each artwork's provenance is digitally recorded, immutable and traceable. Grant watched her presentation with quiet approval. Lydia's expertise in art technology had brought new dimensions to his vision of reform. We've recovered 3 more pieces this month, she reported later in his office, including a Vermeer stolen from a Jewish family during World War II. Arrange the return ceremony, Grant instructed. Make sure the press understands the significance. The foundation's work brought unexpected healing. Each recovered artwork, each fraudster exposed, helped restore integrity to an industry Christina had helped corrupt. In his private moments, Grant received updates about Christina's incarceration. When her father, James Armstrong, fell critically ill, Grant faced a choice that would define his character. He's asking to see her, Lydia said softly. The doctors say he doesn't have long. Grant's expression remained stern, but he reached for his phone. Arrange it. Supervised visit, maximum security protocols. The decision wasn't mercy. It was a demonstration of power. Even in prison, Christina lived or died by his choices. The foundation's influence grew. Marcus and Vanessa Klein established their whistleblower program, giving gallery employees safe channels to report suspicious activities. Your story inspired changes across the industry, Walter McCabe told Grant during a board meeting. The new insurance protocols have already prevented 3 major fraud attempts. Grant's transformation from victim to victor became legendary in Boston's business circles. His destruction of Christina's criminal enterprise served as a warning to others who might consider betrayal. The foundation's work brought unexpected allies. Tammy Chase, after serving her reduced sentence, approached Grant with valuable intelligence about other fraud operations. I want to make amends, she explained. Help prevent others from being victimized. Grant studied her carefully before nodding. You'll work with Felix's team. One mistake, one hint of deception, and you'll wish you were back in prison. Even Brian O'Connor found a path to redemption, though Grant's forgiveness came with strict conditions. His experience helped other companies identify potential security breaches. The lesson was expensive, Brian admitted during a corporate security seminar. But clear, betrayal carries consequences that money can't fix. As Grant and Lydia planned their wedding, he maintained his vigilance. Felix Briggs personally vetted guests, security protocols, ensuring no opportunities for revenge. "You've transformed the art world," Lydia observed one evening. "Created something positive from Christina's betrayal." "Not positive," Grant corrected. "Necessary." The art world needed to learn that actions have consequences. The foundation's success continued to grow. Each recovered artwork, each prevented fraud, added to Grant's reputation as a man who turned personal betrayal into industry-wide reform. Christina and Drew watched from their separate federal prisons as their criminal empire was dismantled piece by piece. Their network of forgers, smugglers, and corrupt officials collapsed under the Foundation's scrutiny. "Another recovery," Lydia announced, entering Grant's office with documentation. "A Monet they moved through Switzerland. The original owners will have it back by month's end." Grant nodded, studying the paperwork. His revenge had evolved beyond personal satisfaction into a mission of restoration and reform. The chapter closes with Grant's victory complete. He had not only destroyed those who betrayed him, but built something stronger from the ruins. His new marriage to Lydia represented not weakness, but a calculated alliance with someone who shared his vision of justice. The story ends with Grant's power absolute, his enemies imprisoned, and his influence extending far beyond Boston's art world. Christina's betrayal had aimed to destroy him. Instead, it had transformed him into something more formidable than she could have imagined. Epilogue. A decade later, Grant Evans stood at the podium of the Evans Foundation's 10th anniversary gala, his silver-streaked hair and sharp features projecting the same commanding presence that had defined his rise to power. The Foundation's headquarters, once Christina's gallery, now housed the world's most advanced art authentication technology center. 10 years ago, we made a promise, Grant addressed the assembled dignitaries, to transform the art world's vulnerabilities into strengths. Today, our blockchain authentication system protects over 60% of major art transactions worldwide. Lydia Evans, his wife of 9 years, watched from the front row. Their partnership had proven formidable. Her technological innovations combined with his ruthless business acumen had revolutionized art security. After his speech, Grant met with Marcus Klein in his private office. Time had strengthened their alliance, with Marcus's company now providing cybersecurity for the Foundation's global operations. "Christina's up for parole next month," Marcus mentioned, studying Grant's reaction. "I know." Grant's voice remained cold. "The board already has my recommendation against it." The years had not softened Grant's stance on betrayal. His influence ensured that Christina and Drew Marshall served their full sentences, their requests for early release consistently denied. "What about her father?" Marcus asked. "James Armstrong died last year." Grant's expression showed no emotion. "I arranged for her to attend the funeral under guard. Not mercy, just a reminder of who controls her fate." The Foundation's success had exceeded even Grant's expectations. Walter McCabe, now retired from insurance investigation, served as a senior advisor, his expertise helping develop industry-wide fraud prevention protocols. "Your system caught another forgery ring last week," Walter reported during their monthly meeting. "Operating out of Dubai. The same techniques Drew Marshall used to use." "Take them apart," Grant ordered. "I want their entire network exposed." Jenny Goodman had risen to become the Foundation's chief technology officer, her cybersecurity team maintaining constant vigilance against new threats. Her marriage to Felix Briggs had merged their departments into an unparalleled technical powerhouse. "The new quantum encryption protocols are online," Jenny informed Grant. "Any attempt to falsify provenance records triggers immediate alerts across all connected museums and galleries." Lloyd Dolan still handled Grant's personal security, though his role had expanded to oversee the Foundation's global protection services. His team had prevented 3 attempted revenge attacks from former members of Christina's network over the years. The latest threat assessment, Lloyd placed a tablet on Grant's desk. A former associate of Drew Marshall was released from prison in Italy. "Started making inquiries about the Foundation." "Handle it," Grant commanded. His tone made it clear that handling didn't necessarily mean legal channels. Tammy Chase had proven her reformation, rising to head the Foundation's whistleblower program. Her insights into art fraud psychology helped identify potential schemes before they materialized. Another gallery employee came forward. She reported to Grant. Pattern matches the early stages of what Christina used to do. Systematic replacement of authentic pieces with forgeries. Send in the audit team, Grant directed. Full investigation. Show them what happens to those who follow Christina's path. Brian O'Connor had rebuilt his life, though under Grant's watchful eye. His corporate security consulting firm operated as a subsidiary of the Foundation, his betrayal serving as a constant reminder of the price of disloyalty. The preventive protocols you implemented saved 3 companies this quarter, Brian informed Grant during a quarterly review. They never knew how vulnerable they were until we showed them. Keep them afraid, Grant instructed. Fear of exposure is our best ally. April Schaefer, Christina's former gallery assistant, now directed the Foundation's authentication training program. Her testimony years ago had helped destroy Christina's defense, earning her Grant's grudging respect. The new class of authenticators graduates next week, April reported. They're already placing with major auction houses and museums. Blanca Wolf's network of art fraud informants had expanded globally under the Foundation's umbrella. Her revenge against Drew Marshall had transformed into a mission to expose art criminals worldwide. We tracked another of Drew's old partners. Blanca's voice came through Grant's secure line. Running a small operation in Buenos Aires. Want us to move? Document everything, Grant replied. Then burn them to the ground. The Foundation's influence extended beyond art fraud prevention. Their blockchain technology had revolutionized artifact provenance tracking, making it nearly impossible to fence stolen antiquities through legitimate channels. Dora Galvin had parlayed her role in Grant's recovery into a position heading the Foundation's victim support services. Her brother's experience with Drew Marshall's schemes helped shape programs assisting fraud victims. Another family recovered their grandfather's collection this week, Dora shared during a staff meeting. Stolen during World War II. Sold through Christina's gallery 5 years before her arrest. Make sure they understand who found it, Grant instructed. Each recovery reinforced his reputation as both avenger and restorer. Sherry Lawson's coverage of the Foundation's work had earned her a Pulitzer. Her latest book, The Art of Revenge, detailed Grant's destruction of Christina's criminal empire. Your story still fascinates people, Sherry mentioned during an interview for the anniversary gala. The betrayed husband who turned personal vengeance into global reform. Not reform, Grant corrected. Control. The art world needed to learn that actions have consequences. In federal prison, Christina's attempts to maintain her aristocratic bearing had faltered under the weight of years. Her occasional letters to Grant, seeking some form of reconciliation, went unanswered. Drew Marshall had aged poorly, his charm withering in isolation. His former associates, facing their own long sentences, had long since abandoned any loyalty to their fallen leader. Agnes Lake's cooperation had earned her a reduced sentence, though Grant ensured she could never return to the art world. Her testimony had helped dismantle similar fraud operations across Europe. Herman John, the master forger, spent his final years teaching authentication experts at the Foundation how to spot high-quality fakes. His knowledge, turned against his former profession, helped prevent countless frauds. The Foundation's 10th anniversary celebration showcased its global impact. Representatives from major museums, galleries, and law enforcement agencies gathered to witness the unveiling of next-generation authentication technology. The quantum blockchain system makes forgery mathematically impossible, Lydia explained to the assembled crowd. Each artwork's digital signature is unique, unchangeable, and instantly verifiable. Grant watched from his office as the demonstration proceeded. The gallery space below, once the scene of Christina's betrayal, now represented the pinnacle of art security innovation. Mr. Evans, his assistant, interrupted. Christina's lawyer called again about the parole hearing. Send the usual response, Grant replied. A decade had not diminished his resolve. Christina would serve her full sentence, her betrayal earning no clemency. The Evans Foundation's influence continued to grow. Their authentication protocols became industry standard, their blockchain technology licensed to museums worldwide, their security systems protecting priceless collections across the globe. Grant's personal fortune had multiplied, but wealth was secondary to power. He had transformed an act of betrayal into an empire of control, his influence extending far beyond Boston's art world. Lydia understood his drive. Their marriage was a partnership of shared vision, her technological brilliance complementing his strategic mastery. Together, they had built something Christina could never have imagined. Another decade, another victory, Lydia observed as they watched the anniversary celebrations. Christina tried to destroy you. Instead, she made you unstoppable. Grant's expression remained impassive, but his eyes gleamed with cold satisfaction. She taught me an invaluable lesson. True power isn't in forgiveness. It's in making sure betrayal carries consequences that echo through generations. The Foundation's legacy was secure. Grant had not only destroyed those who betrayed him, but had rebuilt the art world in his image. Each prevented fraud, each recovered artwork, each exposed criminal strengthened his control. FBI Art Crimes Division still consulted regularly with the Foundation. Agent Dunlap, now Deputy Director, maintained close ties with Grant's team. Your methods may be ruthless, Dunlap admitted during the anniversary gala, but they get results. Art crime rates have dropped 60% since the Foundation started operations. The future promised even greater influence. The Foundation's next-generation technologies would make art fraud virtually impossible, while their global network of informants and experts maintained constant vigilance against new threats. Grant's reputation had grown beyond revenge into legend. Business schools studied his transformation of personal betrayal into industrial revolution. Law enforcement agencies worldwide adopted his protocols. The evening ended with Grant in his private office, reviewing reports from the Foundation's global operations. Christina's betrayal had aimed to destroy him. Instead, it had created something far more powerful. A man who had turned revenge into an art form, justice into an industry, and control into an empire. As midnight approached, Grant received one final report. Another of Christina's former associates had attempted to rebuild their old network. Within hours, their operation was exposed, their assets frozen, their reputation destroyed. Your orders, sir? Lloyd asked through the secure line. The usual protocol, Grant replied. Let them serve as another reminder. Betrayal has consequences, and I never forget. The Foundation's 10th anniversary marked not just a decade of success, but a complete transformation of the art world. Grant Evans had taken Christina's betrayal and forged it into a weapon that reshaped an entire industry. His legacy was secure, his power absolute, his influence global. The betrayed husband had become something far more formidable. A man whose very name made criminals hesitate, whose foundation could destroy lives with a keystroke. As Grant looked out over the city, he reflected on the path that had led here. Christina's betrayal had taught him an essential truth. True power lay not in forgiveness, but in the ability to ensure that every betrayal carried consequences that would echo through time. The epilogue ends with Grant's victory complete and eternal. He had not only destroyed his enemies, but had built an empire from the ashes of betrayal. His influence would continue to shape the art world for generations to come, a lasting testament to the price of crossing Grant Evans. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.